Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown for our first EB01 event for the format. It's going to be the SangSang events Mexico City Regionals that happened this past weekend. Over 300 players into a top 16 cut into this top 8 that we see here today. So a couple things before we get started. First, if you guys are wanting more EB01 coverage and events and everything else, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We're going to be covering that pretty much for the next couple weeks. And then also thank you to SangSang Events for not only running the event, but also for live streaming it as well. You can find the live stream in the description, as well as linked here. They have a Swiss and also a top 16 coverage for it as well. And then lastly, if you guys want more EB01 events and event coverage, we do have our own EB01 event this Tuesday, May 7th, starting at 5 p.m. PST and 8 p.m. EST. There are still some spots available if you guys want to check it out. And also, we will be live streaming it here on my YouTube as well as my Twitch if you guys want to check that out too. So anyways, jumping on into this event again, this was 365 players, 8 rounds of Swiss, best of 1 into a top 16 cut, best of 3. You guys can check out the live stream, and this is EB01 legal, which you couldn't maybe tell. Obviously, we don't have any of the new leaders doing well, being the Kiros, being the Hannibal, or the Odin, which I think is not too surprising. I think those leaders are just kind of okay. I also want to mention that even though this is EB01 meta legal, EB01 is not like a really super impactful set, but also this is the first week of it. Like, it was released a day before this event started, so I think a lot of people didn't have the product or didn't want to do that either. So kind of a bit of a dipping of the toes into the event instead of like a full jump on into it. But we do have for our top 8 2 Gecko Morias, with one of them winning the event, 2 Sakazukis, 1 Katakuri, 1 Trafalgar, 1 Enel, and 1 Uta as well. So kind of like the thing where it's like the 3 leaders that have been doing very well. And then also, in my opinion, the 3 leaders that got probably the most support in the set, the Trafalgar, the Enel, and the Uta, which got a good amount of support. So even though I don't think the Enel list was running a lot of it, I think it's a deck that more people on, just because it's kind of more looked at for the pieces for it. So. And also, they are kind enough to provide a leader breakdown for this event, showing that there were about 79 Katakuri and Sakazuki, so that both of them doing there. But big thing that I'm noticing is that generically for most of this meta, that top 8 or the top cut is usually about 2/3 of both the Gecko, Sakazuki, and Katakuri, which is barely-ish true, like pretty close to true, but the leader breakdown is just not as much as them. They're usually a little bit more from there. So more people are trying other decks, which I think is cool. We'll probably have like some new kind of innovations for EB01 for the first couple weeks, and then we'll probably go back to maybe business as usual. With, again, I think Enel and Star Deck 10 Law are going to have a big shoot up in usage, and we'll just kind of see what else is used the next couple weeks too. But anyways, we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders, starting off with our first place list, which is Alejandro's version of Gecko Moria. So I will say that Gecko is probably one of the more consistent decks in this format, and I think compared to something like Sakazuki, which you kind of have to know what is your value trades and what you have to give up to do well with it. I think Gecko's in a really good spot to just generically do very well. It's a little bit straightforward comparatively, but it's just very consistent and strong because of that too. We also do see the add of the Hina and Rebecca combo, which I don't think I think like at the beginning everyone was putting Rebecca in this deck, and then in a couple weeks into this format people were taken out, and now they're kind of found the balance that Rebecca and Hina are really good adds to the deck in general. The fact that also you can just play Hina on 3 Dawn, and so being able to do Hina and then also play Absalom from your leader effect for 6 Dawn to get rid of a 6 or less and establish 2 5k bodies is pretty strong. It's a really good play for the deck, and I think helps with a lot of extension, and that's just kind of why we like playing Rebecca in general. We can play this, get another refresh of our Hina, so we're running just a lot of cost reduction with that, with the Great Eruption, as well as the Ice Age, which is strong. So I think that's helpful for the deck. Obviously, we still play Gecko Moria, and all of our 4 costs really works, nothing too silly or anything too outrageous from there, but I think the deck is very good, and big congratulations to Alejandro for winning this event. Next up, we have second place, which is Joshua's version of Sakazuki, and Joshua is made it all the way from Canada for this event. So a second place finish is really, really strong, and big congrats for them too. Sakazuki gets one big buff in this, maybe not big buff, but one buff in the set, which is the T-Bone, which is just another Navy 2K that they decided to give it. It says on play KO to one of your opponent's 2 cost or lower characters. So I don't think we're playing this out very often, but it is a card that is just better than Virgo, right? It's a 5 cost, being able to be found off Rebecca, like just another 2K you can get. And some, like, even playing this out for 5, if you really need the removal of something, is worth it. So I think that's strong for the deck in general. I would think that it would work better maybe in like the Navy build, just because you can use Sakazuki's effect and then your stage effect, and then just play T-Bone out to get rid of a 4 or less, which is quite good. But we are playing the more standard version, the one without the stage, which I think is strong too. Just some trade-offs for how it works, but other than that, Sakazuki is just the same as always been. It's very strong, gets consistency, and T-Bone just like another piece that just adds like a little bit better of a skill ceiling for it. So not much more to say, but big congratulations to Joshuua for their second place finish with Sakazuki. Next up, we have Katakuri. So this is our build from Rene, and this is not changing at all. I think from EB01, there's a lot of good yellow cards, but they're more for like life manipulation decks and everything like that. And Katakuri is not really fitting that mold. He's more of a tempo aggression deck where we get a lot of value from the cards that can trigger off of our life, such as our Parasparrows, our Sanji, our Kiko Nojo for sure, and also our Satori if we really need just another body out. We've got 4 Gadatsus, 4 of each of the Linlins, and an 8-drop Katakuri, and then our yellow events that are just so good at finishing the game, like the Amaru for getting rid of blockers, and Reject, which will be banned next month for just the strength and consistency that it adds to finishing games. So I don't have much more to say. We've seen Katakuri, definitely a really good finish though, and congratulations to Rene for their finish with it there. Next up, we're going to talk about our 3 kind of newer decks. These ones got buffed from EB01, and we're put kind of back on the radar for a lot of people. First one is Trafalgar Law, which I think a lot of people are playing. It's going to be in the top 4 decks, maybe top 3, maybe top 2, maybe best list. Where we'll see how good it gets in the next couple weeks. But it is reminding me a lot of kind of Sakazuki, and the fact that it's really good at building a board while also removing our opponent's board. So big new cards that we get. One is the Mr. 2 Bond Clay. The fact that you're able to get not only a Dawn ramp, but also it's an active. The fact that it's an active is actually really, really impactful in a lot of situations. And if your opponent's not playing like a lot of removal, this can sometimes just be like a willy-nilly 7k attack, or it's just kind of weird to interact with, because if your opponent can't get rid of it, you really don't want to play like a big costed card with a high attack, because then Bond Clay can trade into it for free or get that advantage, which is really nice. So kind of the same thing like why Shirai has been really great, is that if your opponent doesn't really have a card on board, and they can only really swing at their leader on the turn, you can just block with Shiraya, pitch a card from hand, and you get all the defense you need, which is really strong. So I think both are very good for the deck. The other ad we have is the Kitten Killer, which is such a good finisher for this deck. Being able to be a 7k rush is fantastic, especially since you can do some things where you use 3 Dawn to put 3 Dawn on your leader, give it have an 8k attack, then use the -3, you get Kitten Killer, you get a 7k attack without any Dawn investment. That's just very strong. I think that's helpful for the deck and adds a lot of consistency. So, previously we just had Zoro as the only card that we could play off our leader effect that had Rush. So being able to have Kitten Killer to additionally just be a better card in all parts for that end game is very strong for it too. So other than that, just kind of what we've been seeing for the deck. I think this is going to be, we're going to see a lot of different builds, a lot of different tech options throughout the next couple of weeks, because there is not I don't think there's a perfect 50 for the build in general, and that's kind of it for it. So big congratulations to Alejandro for their finish with the Star Deck 10 Law. Next up, we have Enel, which we did see win the Core CCG Online Treasure Cup that happened this past weekend. That was in Star Deck 13 meta, but I will say this list is looking moderately similar to it, with the fact that we are playing like the Rush Ace, which is just so strong. I think in this deck we go down to 2 life pretty quickly. It's a great card on tempo, and if you're not playing against a big removal deck, your opponent's going to have to get creative or just spend a lot of resources just to get rid of this ace because it is a 7k, which is very strong. So, but we do have the standard. We do have like 3 copies of Katakuri, 4 copies of Yamato, and then a good amount of defense. We're playing like the Hiyori and the Momo, which being able to get the blocker, it's very helpful for us there too. Kikonojo, the Shirahoshi, and everything else. But one thing you will note is that we don't see any of EB01 cards, which we do have cards like Raigo, which does help us get rid of cards. It's like one of the best removal cards, if not the best one that Yellow's ever gotten, which is very strong. But besides that, I think the deck is in a good spot without it too. Enel sometimes just doesn't lose if you're able to get enough removal so that your opponent just can't put 3 attacks on the board at once. You get a lot of great advantage for you. And I don't know, the deck is still obnoxious if played right too. So this is, this is not really much of an EB01 list. We'll definitely see, I think, more of it in the next couple weeks too. And then a lot of Enel and OPO7 with the release of the 10-drop ace. So don't have much more to say, but congratulations to David for their finish with Enel. And then to wrap it up, we do have Uta, which is, we have Angel's build of it here. We get 2 kind of simple but really good cards for the deck for Uta. Specifically, we do have the Sanji, which is just simply another 2k that we can find off our leader effect. The Dawn times 1 your turn for every 3 rusted Dawn on your field gets plus 1k. Shows up sometimes, right? You can make this like a 7k, 8k attack sometimes. So that's pretty okay with it. It's usually just make it like a 7k with the Dawn times 1 on it, and then you played something for 3 earlier, such as like an I'm Invincible, something like that. We also have the Blue Note, which is just a 2-cost blocker, but it also has the film type, which is really helpful for being able to find just more cards and have consistency for you. And then we do have the 4 copies of Useless Kid. So I'm pretty sure, I didn't check before I were recording this, but this is the same, if not very similar to the list that won the Japanese flagship in their same meta, where Uta's just very, the consistency you add from it is great. We're only running 6 cards that aren't found by it, and for whatever reason, I just feel like more and more that Useless Kid is just a trouble against a lot of decks. I think that Sakazuki has a good way to get rid of it, but decks outside of Sakazuki, like even Gecko Moria at times, if they don't have their setup, they have a hard time using, efficiently getting rid of an 8-drop, right? They'd have to use like a Hina effect, and then a Great Eruption, and then play Absalom, right? Which is, 2 specific cards in hand, and then also just, having the Dawn investment for it. So because of that, I think this card can be, make or break in a lot of matchups. And even though even though we have so much removal, some decks just really can't handle it, which is what it is. I don't know how to say it. Just the card is really good. I don't know how to say it. So other than that, I think the deck is standard. Uta doesn't have a lot of variants, but it's just very, very consistent in a lot of ways. And just being able to get it has more card draw than really any other deck that we see in this format, and very strong because of it too. So that's it for this one, and congratulations to Angel for their finish there. And that's going to be it for this event. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to SangSang Events for running the event and also streaming it and dropping the deck list and all this data. And again, if you guys want some more EB01 events, I have mine tomorrow, Tuesday, which we will be streaming as well on my Twitch and YouTube. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.